Hello, today I want to talk to you about sprucing up your presentations. We're going to talk today about making presentations more attractive and aesthetically pleasing, making them more accessible, and making them more engaging. I do want to just note real quick that this presentation is in no way comprehensive and focuses almost completely on the technical and aesthetic side of presentations, not anything in terms of content. So, some tips for making your presentations more attractive, accessible, and engaging. The first thing that I always say, no matter what tool you choose, use it well. If you are somebody that really loves to use PowerPoint, perfectly fine. I'm a diehard PowerPointer myself, but you can really dig into some of the nooks and crannies of PowerPoint to make your presentations even better. So if you want to find a new tool, that's fine. If you want to use an old one to its fullest potential, awesome. You can also combine tools to create something new. So if you want to find a new tool, you can look at something like Google Slides, Prezi, Microsoft Sway, Apple Keynote, Canva, or Piktochart. Obviously, Google Slides is supported here at Kenyon, and many of you have probably already made that switch. Prezi is a little bit different. It's web-based, it's hosted on the web, and it's a little bit more, we'll say, engaging, while some other people might say it's a little dizzying, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. There's Microsoft Sway, which is a little bit better when it comes to having a lot of room for text. It almost looks like sort of an online like course pack or ebook. You can fit quite a bit of text there. Apple Keynote is an Apple specific product. So you need to have a Mac if you want to use Apple Keynote. And then Canva or Piktochart, those are both great. Those are made in drag and drop graphic design platforms. But the one drawback is some accessibility features that are missing for those. So you've got really beautiful presentations, but the accessibility components are not quite there. I've got some examples here for you to check out, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up a few of those now. So here's a neat example of Prezi. What you have here is a nice clean link that you can share with your attendees. And then you've got this nice visual aesthetic as well. You can see here that this little arrow is glowing, and it's wanting to guide me through this presentation. So if I just go ahead and click that, it's going to dive into one of those little signs that you saw on that first page here, and it's just going to look a lot like a normal slide deck, like in PowerPoint or Google Slides. But as you continue clicking, it zooms and sort of pans around the page. And so some people like this, some people don't. There's a lot you can do visually here. You can add links, things like that. It always pops up on the right-hand side over here with other examples, like this is the explaining literary genres, and it just jumps right in. And so this gives you some good ideas here. Really good for making presentations, just a little bit more visually engaging, but sometimes too engaging for some folks. So you can kind of figure out whether you like that style or not. One nice thing is there is such a thing as Prezi video, and you can do transcripts if you do any sort of audio that you're including, which is really awesome. It makes it more accessible. So some definitely nice things going for Prezi here. So this is an example of a Piktochart presentation, and what you can see when you click on this, again, you have a nice clean link that you can share with people, but this also gives you, Piktochart is mainly a infographic creator, an infographic designer. So you get this hard copy or digital copy infographic, but when you make it public, you can also click on this show presentation button, and it breaks all of your infographic blocks up into slides, which is pretty awesome. And it's built in with this nice transition. Again, this might be a little bit too much for some folks, but it is nice. What I like with Piktochart is that you get basically 2 products for one batch of work, I guess. So you make your infographic and you spend all your time creating that, and that also gives you that nice presentation. One nice thing about Piktochart also is that it's very good for using a lot of data. So it's got really nice charts and tables and graphs and things like that that you can choose from. And so again, you've got this infographic, click on show presentation, and it breaks it all up into nice chunks that you create. So you create your infographic in blocks, and then it takes each of those blocks and turns it into a slide. So I do like that. And then one example of Microsoft Sway, this is one on solar energy. So you just scroll through this. It does have a table of contents in the bottom right-hand corner, and it looks almost like a timeline, but this kind of goes through chapters. And this is what I was talking about in terms of like an ebook almost. So you can click to go home, then you can just scroll through. And this gives you a lot more flexibility, including a lot of text. So if you need something more akin to, I don't know, like an online textbook or course pack, Microsoft Sway is a pretty great option. As for Canva, like I said, beautiful slide deck options. You'll notice that some of them have a little crown. That means they are only available with the Pro membership, and you have to pay for those. But otherwise, many, many options that do not include that. So I'm going to just go ahead and click on one. That'll give you different template options, different layout options for the same template so they all match. And you can hover over those and sort of see what they look like. A lot of these have built-in animations already. I really like this one. Beautiful, beautiful options here. And I hesitated on whether to include Canva or not. The one thing I don't like about Canva, well, there's 2 things actually, but one of them is it does not play well with PowerPoint or Google Slides. And since that is a big way that we share things and collaborate, that doesn't make this a great option. It also doesn't have built-in accessibility checkers or the ability to create accessible presentations. So I really, really, really don't love this option. However, really beautiful, really innovative. You can download these as PDFs. It also gives you the ability to present. You can present it and record over it. You can record your presentation. There's a nice presenter view. So it gives you this extra pop-up. This is the audience window. This is what the audience sees. You can minimize that. This is the presenter window. It gives you this nice little cursor highlight so you can move through things and your audience will see that. Lots of different options, magic shortcuts. You can link a remote control to it, so like a clicker that clicks you through. You can hide the magic cursor, that kind of thing. Add notes over here for yourself. And it looks like even creating an interactive Q&A over here. So you share a link with them, you get attendees, and you can do a live Q&A over there. So it does have a nice built-in presentation mode. So that is one thing that it has going for it. So just to review some of the features of these different things, Google Slides are Kenyon supportive, they're collaborative, which is awesome if you're using them for group projects. There's a mobile app. It does work with PowerPoint pretty well. They play fairly nicely together. Easy to share, and there are some different add-ons that you can download into your Google Slides. In terms of Prezi, it's adaptive. So depending on what kind of screen you're looking at, it adapts to that screen. It does feature video now. There's a potential for analytics if you want to keep track of, who's looking at your Prezi. There's voiceover and transcript options, and there's web hosting for easy sharing. Microsoft Sway has some really nice styles. Its adaptive design can be optimized for any screen, And it is sort of like a cross between documentation and presentation. So you can include more content if that's an attractive thing for you. Apple Keynote, which I didn't show, is a lot like PowerPoint, but it's specific to Apple users. You can use an Apple Pencil and an iPad pretty easily, which is nice. It can be collaborative. There are interactive graphics like charts, and it's PowerPoint compatible. So if that's something that you want to look into as a new tool, that's a pretty robust and great one too. Canva is browser-based. It's web-hosted. It is a drag and drop graphic designer with lots of ready-made templates. So everything looks really nice. We also have Canva Pro here at Kenyon, and you can talk to the Office of Communications about that. And they have pre-made Kenyon branded presentations that you can choose from. It is collaborative if you pay for a team subscription. Very tailored designs. You have pretty much every option for changing them and making them what you want them to look like. So that's nice. And lots of built-in assets that you can use. Some of them you have to pay for, but lots of them are free. Piktochart is, again, also browser-based, web-hosted, so you can share a link with your attendees. Lots and lots of built-in assets that you can use, interactive charts and maps, and it's really good for data. It's easy to change whole color schemes. There's some animation that's built into the presentation side, and lots of sharing options. So this is just a little review for you if you're sort of trying to compare what new tool you might like to look at. If you want to use an old tool like PowerPoint, but you want to use it to its more full potential, you can make it more personal. You can create memes or GIFs based on your content. I've got Mematic there that you can use on your phone to create those with a lot of the common memes that you'll see out there. If you want to create more of an aesthetic experience rather than just choosing from the color schemes in PowerPoint, there are a couple things that you can do, and I'm going to pull these up now as well. So this is Coolors. This is a color scheme generator, and if you're anything like me, you can be decent at design, but not necessarily at matching colors or coordinating colors that go well together. So you can start a generator and it will give you a random palette, or you can explore some of the trending color palettes that they have, and I always like to do that so that I have more options. And this just gives you a variety of color palettes. You can choose one, and you can sort of hover over these and get color codes. You can also do this little 3-dot menu, click on that and open the color palette. It'll open it into a new browser window. And you can click to copy the codes. You can switch them from hex codes to like RGB or CMYK, whatever codes you need to include in the tool that you're using. So these are the numbers that you would enter into like PowerPoint to change the color of something. This is a really nice option if you're just not great at picking out coordinating colors like I am. There's also something called Icon Finder. And let's see, I'm just gonna do a quick search for a warning sign. It's giving me everything right now, which includes premium icons. I'm gonna go ahead and click on free over here on the left. These are all free to use. You can download them. I'm just gonna click on one randomly. It gives you different sizes that you can download. You can download it as a PNG, or you can even download it as an Illustrator file, and you can take that into Adobe Illustrator if you're familiar with that program, and you can change the colors and things like that to match whatever aesthetics you already have in place, if that's something that you would like to do. So what I really like about Icon Finder is if you find a style, I guess, of icon that you really like, you can click over here where it has like a family of like icons. So you can click on that, and the same Illustrator has made all of these other icons that you can choose from. So loads and loads of icons that all sort of match, which I really appreciate. And then we also have our Kenyon visual assets. And this is brand new here on this platform anyway. This is the Kenyon brand guide. So you've got your primary colors here. You've got the RGB, CMYK, and hex codes that you can take into whatever tool that you're using. You've got our secondary bright colors and then the neutral colors. Lots of other things that you can explore here, like logo types and the shield and things like that, if that's something that you need. But just in terms of aesthetics and colors, if you're trying to represent Kenyon, we always recommend that you look at the Kenyon brand guide. So a few more things that you can do if you want to use an older tool to its fullest potential is just kind of get in the tool and get educated and fully explore all of the features in there. So if you're using PowerPoint, for example, there's the tell me what you want to do bar. That's a search bar where you can search for different things. Microsoft Office always has great built-in trainings if you want to go to their website. You can also consider using SmartArt or basic shapes to create a new experience. So let me just sort of go back here. This isn't SmartArt, but this is using basic shapes to create a different experience. So I've got this big gray opaque rectangle that I've put in to sort of make a spotlight feature in PowerPoint. And then I just layered these boxes over top of it. And I've got a text box here. I've got one of those icons from Icon Finders here. So this is just creating a new experience. Like I can just click and drag this gray box away and it just looks like my normal slide. But it's not. I'm just using different shapes like rectangles to create a different type of experience. There's also things like SmartArt. So this is an example of SmartArt, and I can show you real quick how to make one of those. So I'm going to go ahead and just open this slide. I'm going to go click on Insert and click on SmartArt. Now this will give you all of the options for SmartArt graphics. There are lists, processes, cycles, hierarchies, all different kinds of really great illustrations. And I'll go ahead and just, I guess, use this one. So we'll do the continuous cycle. And you'll see that it automatically changes the size of the text to make it all uniform, which I really, really love. If I need more options, I can just go ahead and click enter. It automatically adapts to that. And then you've got all kinds of different options up here. You can change colors based on your scheme, your inbuilt color scheme. So like I can just sort of hover over these and see which ones I like. I like the multicolored ones. There's also like different styles, so you can make it a little bit more three-dimensional, make it pop off the page a little bit. You can click on this one, make it look a little bit more plasticky, I guess. So there are a lot of different options here. And the really cool thing about this is if you create SmartArt on a PowerPoint slide, if it's just a clean blank slide, you can make it as large as you want or can. And you can save that slide as an image, and then you can take that image into other places. So like if you're writing a paper and you're giving a presentation on that paper, you can take the figure that you made in your presentation and put that into your paper as well. And that's just a really handy sort of 2-for-1 deal that you get with SmartArt. So I really love SmartArt. It's one of my favorite things about PowerPoint, and I always like to share that. There's also small things that you can do just to kind of make your presentations look nicer. So like another formatting option is removing the background of an image. So a lot of times you'll pull in an image that you find on, Google Images. It's got this white background, doesn't look great. You can very easily turn that into a transparent background in PowerPoint. So if you click on that image, click on the Format tab up here at the top, there's the first button right there is remove background. And if you click on that, you'll see it turns it pink, and everything outside of that box will likely be deleted. So I always just kind of like eyeball it. In this case, I'm going to expand that box all the way to the outline. And then I'll go up here, I'll click on keep changes. And as you can see, I had like a sort of a drop shadow behind that original image. I can show you here. I'll go and undo real quick. So I had that drop shadow around the whole box. And now if I just go back through those edits that I just made, it keeps the drop shadow and actually creates the drop shadow around the image. So that is one of my very favorite PowerPoint tools to use. And it seems silly, but every one of those little things that you do to create a nice aesthetic experience really sort of just ups the quality of your presentation. If you want to use those things like drop shadows, or you want to put things like frames around your images, those are up here. Again, those are just further formatting options. Drop shadow is my favorite, but there are lots of different things that you can do up there. So it just kind of depends on what you're using, what you're showing in your PowerPoint, and what works best for you. And as I mentioned before, you can always combine tools to create something new. So you can use a screen capturing tool to record your whole presentation to share later. You can create small clips of yourself to embed into the content to make it more personal. You can use something like Screencast-O-Matic or a screen capturing tool that you're familiar with to overlay over a Prezi or a Piktochart presentation like I did earlier in this very video. There's all kinds of things that you can do to combine to just make a new experience. You can do things like insert concept maps and screenshots into your presentation. If you're interested in creating concept maps and things like that for your presentations, contact Alex in the CIP. He's our go-to for that. In terms of making your presentation accessible, some things that you can consider doing, consider adding voiceover and transcripts whenever available. So like I mentioned before, you can add transcripts in Prezi, which I think is a really nice accessibility feature. You can add voiceover in PowerPoint. You can easily do voiceover by just creating a voice memo on your phone while you're going through your presentation, and then you can overlay that in a video editor later on. You can also create a table of contents, and you might have noticed this at the beginning when I did my introduction. My introduction slide is not very pretty. This is actually a presentation table of contents, and what is awesome about this in terms of accessibility is that somebody with a screen reader, if you have a presentation that's like 50, 60 or more slides long, they have to go through every single one of those slides to get to the end or to get to a specific point in your presentation. If you have a table of contents at the beginning, a screen reader is going to read each of these links, and you can click on those links. So if they really want to know how to make a presentation more engaging, they don't have to wade through all of that material to get there. They can click on making presentations more engaging. So I would highly recommend thinking about this. What you do is I just typed normal text, and then what I did was I clicked on insert hyperlink, and instead of doing a sort of web address as a link, you can click place in this presentation, and it gives you a list of all of your slides, and so you can link to the very slide that you that will take them to that content. Another thing that you can do is use built-in accessibility checkers. So in PowerPoint, there's a built-in one. For Google Slides, you have to create an add-on, and Grackle is the add-on that you want to do. And what that will do is, I'll just show you the one in PowerPoint. The Grackle add-on is exactly the same for Google Slides. So you'll go to File, check for issues, and then check accessibility. and that will go through your entire accessibility checker. I haven't done anything to this one, so we'll see. Look at all of these errors. So you've got all of these errors. A lot of them probably are, all of them are missing alternative text. So somebody with the screen reader would not know what any of these images are because I don't have alternative text to let them know. So it's got errors. It has warnings of things that you might want to go back and look through. Different tips for making things more accessible. So if you don't know where to start in terms of accessibility, this is where you start. This gives you the errors that are definitely things that you want to keep in mind and go through and correct if you can for somebody that's using a screen reader. The warnings are not necessary, but you can always go through and at least sort of learn why to fix it. So like this content placeholder number 2, why fix it? Hyperlink text should provide a clear description of the link destination instead of providing only the URL. So it tells you why to fix it. It tells you how to fix it. And so we always recommend that you do that. And to get rid of that, you'll just click on that little tiny X and it'll take you right back. You can check your color contrast to make sure that your font is in high enough contrast with your background. And you can also share your slides with your audience before you present your content. So you probably will have noticed that I had this little follow along on your own device box on several slides at the very beginning of my presentation. So I just copy and paste that on every single slide. And really what that allows me to do is make my slides accessible beforehand, but it also allows me to continue with my presentation for 4-5 minutes before it disappears from the screen. That way I can continue and I don't have to out anyone for taking a little bit longer to access that web link. They can take their time and grab that link whenever they can, and you can continue on with your content. So that is a way to definitely make it more accessible. To make your presentation more engaging, there are lots of things you can do. You can slide share in real time with things like, if you're using Keynote, you can use Keynote Live. You can use Prezi Video, which is built into Prezi. PowerPoint has a PowerPoint 365 that you can use to web host or to host your PowerPoints on the web and share them easily. Google has Pear Deck, which you can also use. Sway is, again, it's already web hosted content, so that's really easy. And Speaker Deck is something that I personally use to make my PowerPoint slide decks accessible. The link that I showed you just a minute ago in the green box, that's my Speaker Deck link. And we actually have a video about that you should check out if you're interested in that. You can also do polling and quizzing. And if you really want to talk to somebody in the CIP about polling and quizzing in your presentations, definitely talk to Alex. He can walk you through things like Poll Everywhere, Edpuzzle, and Pear Deck. We do have some prior Tech Tuesday recordings that we can probably dig up and share, but really going to Alex is your best bet. You can also make your presentations more collaborative. Google Slides are collaborative. Apple Keynote is collaborative. You can also upload things into Hypothesis for collaborative annotation, especially for presenting web-based literature, but you can take any PDF in there and you can always turn your slides into a PDF. So you can work through problems and content together and show them on the screen, things like that. So definitely check out those collaboration tools. Anyway, I know this video was no way near exhaustive, but hopefully you have a couple of ideas of new tools you can try or new tricks in your old tools that you can try. And if you have any questions, just get in touch. Thanks.